spinal cord injuries, type 1 diabetes, Parkinson's disease, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, Alzheimer's disease, cancers, heart disease, stroke, burns, and osteoarthritis. We may not know all of these diseases, but we know one or two. However, we can all agree that these diseases are some of the most difficult diseases to treat even with modern medicine today. And to any of us, this disease is the last thing we want to hear from our doctor, and especially the very last thing we want to give news to our family members. Today, I'm here to convince you the need to maintain federal funding for human embryonic stem cell research, or HEST-cell research for short. I will begin by talking about the challenge HEST-cell research funding has faced over its history, the ethical opposition that drive those challenges, and finally, I will give you my reason as to why we need to maintain federal funding for HEST-cell research. I will start with a brief explanation of what HEST-cell research is. Basically, scientists take a stem cell from an embryo and condition it to become any type of tissues. The benefit of this is that dead cells from disease such as Alzheimer's or cancers can be replaced with new cells. The controversy arises from the fact that the embryo died once the stem cell was removed. And since Roe versus Wade in 1973, the battle to keep federal funding for HEST-cell research has been an up and down battle. And with this year, the overturn of Roe versus Wade, those funding has been more in jeopardy than ever. In 2001, George W. Bush, at the start of his presidency, set strict restrictions on HEST-cell research, placing his personal belief as the reason behind it. In 2012, Barack Obama reversed those restrictions by signing an executive order to fund for HEST-cell research. The National Institute of Health, the National Institute for granting federal funding to research, showed this year will be the first year since 2012 for decreasing federal funding for HEST-cell research. Next, I will talk to you about the opposition. According to Dr. Nisbe, professor of communication at the University of Northeastern, believe that religions is the main factor in shaping and determining the political stance in researching and funding for HEST-cell research. In my research in article Human Egg and Procurement in the Fertility Industry and the Research Enterprise by Lisa Ikemoto, 2009, the source of HEST cells come from fertility treatment that are no longer desirable. In other words, IVF, eggs that are considered spare. And it is this source that many of the opposition take issue with, and they believe that it is unethical. And it is this notion that shaped the political decision in determining HEST-cell research funding. The second argument that they have is that an embryo is a life, and there's a moral obligations to protect it. In the Stem Cell Uncertainty Principle by Melinda Fagan in 2013, professor at Utah University said stem cell is relative and relational to its conditions. And by that, it means that in order to define if a stem cell is life, you have to see if the condition supports it or not. If the conditions say yes, it's supported to become life, then yes, stem cell is alive. If the condition doesn't support it to become life, then no, it's not alive. However, the opposition say, hey, the conditions for stem cell become life was there before it was moved, so it needs to be defined as life. Lastly, I will give you my reason as to why we need to maintain HEST-cell research funding. The discussion to determine whether an embryo is life still sits in the gray area. However, a living, breathing person dying of a devastating disease is very straightforward and is life. And I believe that it is our moral acceptability to channel it, our resource, and our energy to help these people that are in need. With HEST-cell research, we will give hope to people with devastating disease. With head cell research, we can give new cells to replace the dead cells and give some quality of life back to those who need it. Regardless of your faith or political standing, I said we need to maintain federal funding for head cell research. And for those of you who say an embryo is alive, I said we follow the science. The blastocyte cells of an embryo at day 5 to 7 of development is unspecialized. By this, it means that the properties such as the nervous system is in that give a life quality is non in existence. And however, people who are in a vegetative state with a developed nervous systems are being taken off life support every day, and yet we have yet to ask the ethical questions on this act. I said the science had taken us this far, and we continue to trust the process. We have seen the challenge head cell research face, and now it is more in jeopardy than ever. The science has evolved, and the oversight for responsible research is in place because the funding was there. We take away the fundings to maintain this oversight. We take away our ability to ask the questions, to continue asking the question. So I said we maintain it and give hope to the courageous men and women who wake up every day with a devastating disease. Thank you.